What if I told you we live inside of a hologram that has code that rewrites itself continually using our soul as a battery source, essentially? Oh, yeah. Quite the headline, right? We should title this one, "We are batteries living inside of a massive hologram that rewrites itself while recycling our souls." Whoa. Ladies and gentlemen, Rex Bear Leak Project. Hope you're having a beautiful day. Now let's talk about this for a minute. And it's very deep, and it's also very compelling when you look at the data, quantum physics, how someplace on the other side of the galaxy will interact the same time we do, as if we're moving in harmony together. So if you look at the speed of light, it's even faster than the speed of light. It's if things move simultaneously together. So with that being said, a hologram is essentially code that has been recorded in light. Let me give you a quick definition. A hologram is a physical recording of an interface pattern which uses diffraction to reproduce a three-dimensional light field. We're in the 3D right now, aren't we? Resulting in an image which retains the depth, parallax, and other properties of the original scene. Holograms and holography is the science and practice of making holograms. Scientists have created holograms that you can touch, you can smell, you can hear. We're in a hologram, as above, so below. You can take a small piece of a hologram and duplicate the whole piece, just like DNA, kind of like stem cells, right? Now also, real quick, this could be your best friend one day. The solar water heater. If you go to solarwaterheater.com, you can pick yourself up the 2020 model. This thing can heat water in as little as 30 minutes without batteries, without any type of power except for the sun. As you can see, it opens up like this. And if you go to solarwaterheater.com and use the code LEAK15, you'll get an additional 15% off. So let the sun do the work for you. Solarwaterheater.com, code LEAK15. Okay, now let's go back into the podcast here. Let me show this headline with you. These are touchable holograms. Touchable holograms. Check it out. YouTube, CNET, Manufacturing Net. The first touchable hologram created in Japan. Now, not only can they add textures, but also sounds, smells. Very fascinating technology. So with that being said, if we are in a simulation, if we are in a hologram, what happened? Was there a major catastrophic event that took place that in order for our survival, our bodies, our consciousness had to be downloaded or uploaded or transferred into this hologram? And this hologram, if you read the book called The Holographic Universe Theory, one of the best books I've ever read. It's a quick read. It's an easy read. It's a fascinating read describing the holographic universe and the placebo effect, the nocebo effect, the power of the mind. You can connect that with all of the scriptures that I've shared with you, the ancient tablets, the cuneiform tablets, the gods, the goddesses, the Anunnaki, and they created us to do the work for them. With that being said, we are now creating artificial intelligence. And when I use the term artificial, I'm referring to humans making something that mimics nature that's synthetic. So it doesn't mean it's not real. I used to look at the term artificial as like, oh, are you saying it's not real? Well, that's a complete oxymoron then, because all intelligence is real. And the universe is intelligence. We are figuring out ways to create these different mediums and formulas to capture pieces of intelligence and then transform that into what we can understand. That's really what it comes down to. So it's transference of energy. It's capturing and harnessing this energy that flows through the universe, like these cosmic currents, etc. And I still am seeing how I'm looking at this information and comparing it to our own solar system and wondering if we are in some type of carbon-based collection system that literally uses our souls as some type of battery system. I mean, what if the Matrix was right? Kristen brought that up yesterday. She's like, geez, what if we really are in these pods and we're in a machine and we're feeding a machine? And she's like, the only thing I could think of that would give me hope is love. I said, you know what? You're right. Because even in the simulation, if we are in a simulation, love is very real. It is that bond that we have with Source. So if we've been captured in this lower vibrational form that is holographic in nature, are we able to get out? Do we want to get out? Do we stay in here? Is there something that could turn off the hologram? How do we keep the hologram going? How do we evolve in a hologram where everything that already has happened is embedded in the hologram? So it's like there will never be anything more. It just is. And to find different aspects of the hologram, you can look at it from different angles of light, is what it comes down to, this luminescence. And let's take this further. If we have been captured by some type of type 2 civilization or a higher form of being that has captured us and created this mechanism to control us, possibly with the rings of Saturn, with the moon, with the carbon. The carbon atom is 6 protons, 6 neutrons, 6 electrons. The magic sun box, if you study numerology, each planet has a specific numerological value, and the sun is 111 6 times. So you could look at that as 666. Very interesting how if we came from a time where there was a different star, if Saturn was our star, we would have had a different DNA makeup. And cosmologically speaking, Diamond from Oppenheimer Ranch has done a very good job showing how these cosmic changes can affect our own DNA and mutations, etc. Evolution, devolution. Or is this just the natural order of the divine and time in this perception of what we see as time, so we can label values on events, not just a streaming singularity of everything at once. And when Kristen brought up that pod thing, I went back to that experience that I had. And then I've shared that with you, where I attempted to have an out-of-body experience, but it was almost like I went inner body or into hell. It was, time was irrelevant. I felt as if I was trapped in this system that was perpetual. I was by myself, laying on the ground, and then all of a sudden, this vision, I start seeing other people that are in the room as well next to me, and we're all like trapped in this big. It's like a stadium almost now. It's like we're in this stadium, and then there's this energy that flows from this being, this massive being that's like overlooking all of us, and we're only allowed to move when this mechanism allows us to. And it was almost like if you ever go to a stadium and you've done the wave before, well, when it's your turn to do the wave, you lift up your arms, etc. It was kind of like that. That's one of the best ways I can describe it at this moment consciously. So with that being said, I don't know if I saw the Yama, if I saw this entity, and I saw through the veil, through this illusionary veil. And if that's what is going on, let's look at things in a different perspective. Are we in these bodies even? Or is this a perception based upon frequencies and manipulations of frequencies and sounds that change the foundation? And is there an intelligence that was able to create outside of the divine, or I should say within the divine, that is doing its own thing now, creating and learning and evolving, and it has captured this solar system, and it has learned how to use somatics and sound and high amounts of energy to have a flow of patterns that then self-replicate and create what we are looking at, like the rings of Saturn, etc. And is the ring makers of Saturn accurate when these images show what looks like could be spaceships that are estimated to be thousands of miles in length that keep the rings in a specific order now. Insects, microorganisms have specific intelligence. What is it like when an insect looks at us? Are there cosmic energies and formulas and forces out there that are far larger as well, that are the size of planets, that are the size of stars? I think there's just too much information available to not question the very real possibility a type 2 civilization, or maybe even higher, has captured our solar system and has figured out a way to use the substances of the solar system, the energies of the solar system, the souls within the solar system as a recycling system. So if we were to wake up, is there some type of frequency that let's say that Saturn is in one of the, we're in the filament right now of the cosmos. There's these different filaments within filaments, etc. Look at the synapses of the brain and look at these patterns and the similarities. So let me just give you an example here. So let's do another screen share. So this is showing the touchable holograms, how holograms actually work. Now this is Uranus. This is an image of the rings of Uranus. And I wanted to show you this because because Uranus was a star to our ancestors, to the ancients. They looked at Uranus, Anu, as the father of the Anunnaki, the sky god, and it's been dimmed. So is this natural, or was there something that created these rings or somatics in the solar system to harness these rings and this energy so that then it deactivates Uranus? Saturn, I believe, was much more powerful and a star, and I think that it still is a star, but semi-deactivated, or just the power output because of the ring. So it goes from Uranus as a star, Saturn, a star, it gets possibly deactivated, and then you can read about the myths of Saturn battling his father. Uranus is Saturn's father. So it goes from Uranus, the star, it dims. Saturn, star, it dims. Jupiter very well could have been a star. But the question is, why does Jupiter not have the rings such as Saturn and Uranus? Is it because based upon the currents, when you have rings over Uranus as well as Saturn, you wouldn't need to have the rings around Jupiter for the energy output to diminish? And then they found a way to move this energy into the sun, which once again, I brought up the magic box of the sun. The numerological aspect of it is 6 lines of 111, 666, and then we brought up the carbon atom, 6 protons, 6 neutrons, 6 electrons. There's a connection there. So these entities can create these rings that could be similar to a Dyson sphere, but in a different formation. The space debris, etc., are rewriting themselves and self-replicating themselves and putting themselves in position, and then you can have these big spaceships to clean up and move things around after the order has started. But the amount of energy you would need to create this is phenomenal. So you would have to find some way to manipulate the synapses of the universe, the cosmic currents. This is the transit path of Venus going past the sun. And the reason I'm showing this is because if we look at the solar system, the observable solar system now, you can get a telescope, you can see this for yourself. Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Earth, Mars, Venus, Mercury, the sun. But let's go back in a time when Saturn and Venus and Mars were closer together, and then something caused Venus to break orbit with Saturn when Saturn was a star. Venus breaks orbit, causes major chaos in the solar system, going past Jupiter, if Jupiter was there at that time, going past Mars, going past Earth, and now being the second planet to our sun, to the star that's currently in luminescence of magnificent form. The interesting thing is Uranus was somehow flipped on its side, and the rings around Uranus, as you can see, are vertical, not horizontal. So something could have very well passed Uranus to make it flip up like that. Was it a planet? Was it an asteroid? Was it a cosmic current that started from the center of the Milky Way galaxy or the center of the universe, like a gigantic heartbeat that resonated throughout with these frequencies and vibrations? Something flipped it up on its side. The rings are formed, it becomes dim. Saturn rings are formed, it becomes dim. And then this energy flows over into the sun, capturing all the other energy from the other planets and stars and then making it larger. And now possibly could we have these currents that are like intergalactic highways? This is the Millennium Project, the Millennium Simulation, showing these massive swaths of space that look very similar to synapses observable in the human brain. And you'll notice right here, this is 2 million parsecs. So you take 3.26 light years, so we'll just say 3.3 light years, times that by 2 million. You've got 6.6 million light years across just right here in this line. So imagine all the galaxies and planets and stars and beings and souls you have just in that area right there. And these filaments are the foundation, the building blocks. So let's go back to the rings of Saturn. Let's say that the rings of Saturn now act as a gigantic turntable of sorts, and it is resonating this energy throughout the planets. And it looks like my computer froze up again. So that's okay. We don't need to get into too much detail on that. I can just show you this image. The hexagon poles. This could be also, I'm looking at somatics here and how energy and sound creates shapes and form and patterns. Let's say that this is the dipole or the pole of these currents. And by changing it now, you have this hexagon that you can clearly see. And then you can study the interesting thing about the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, or the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, describe these angles. And to avoid the angles when you have out-of-body experiences and when you pass to go to the next side, because the angles are finite, in essence, and I'll have to go back and read that again because I might be off a little bit on this, but when you look at circles being infinite and angles being finite, what is the deeper meaning to that? There's got to be a connection we can make here at the subconscious level that'll resonate with us consciously. So that's interesting. These are magnetic dipoles. As you can see, you've got loops, you've got solenoids, you've got the dipole, you've got the poles. You can see the difference there. And I was showing you Jupiter on the previous podcast, the magnetic fields, and they look like a dipole field. So that's what I'm talking about, ladies and gentlemen. What are your thoughts about this? Are we captured inside of this hologram, and what we observe are reflections of light? So you've got this massive energy. Go back and listen to that podcast I did with Gareth from See the Pattern a few months ago, where he showed this huge image that was millions of light years across, and there was this beam of light that went through the entire image. So for millions of light, it was like millions of light years actually, you could see this huge, what looked like a light rod. And made me think about the thunderbolts of the gods, Wal Thornhill and his beautiful description about the electric universe. And if you combine the electric universe with the hologram, and then you have that third layer of ethereal, and you look at the different dimensions of a hologram and what we're in now in 3D, and then if you add up all of the not the synchronicities, well, yeah, you could say that, add up all the synchronicities with the sacred numbers that go back thousands of years and how they connect with modern science. Religion is another form of science, and science is another form of religion. They can work together so beautifully if we allow them to and just put the ego aside sometimes. Because I noticed that this does trigger people's emotions when you talk about how their religion was described in literature that's far older, that's almost identical. And they're like, well, wait a second. That can't be. It doesn't take away from your religion. It should add to the beauty. It's knowledge, sacred knowledge. And your soul is sacred. Your spark is from the divine. Maybe remember that, and that could give you an extra boost of awesomeness when you need it. Because you are awesome. And I want to thank you for watching. I want to say, be excellent to each other, hit the bell, be well, and be the change you want to see. I'll see you soon.